Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Hey everybody. All right, we're gonna jump in. I wanted to share some stuff. I do hope that some folks are chiming in. Let me know where you're from if you're chiming in. So glad to have you. Hey ma'am, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. I did post over on Facebook that I was going to be live tonight. So I do hope that some of my friends come over and chat with me. If not, we'll just chat with those of you who are here. All right. So, I was driving home from work earlier today, and I just so happened to see a person that I follow on YouTube, and they had posted a video. And on the video, it said, let me go find it because I wanna read it right. So y'all let me know where y'all are chiming in from. Hey y'all, hey everybody. It's so good to see. Oh, y'all, we've been canning in our kitchen and tops are popping. It said, how to identify a kingdom spouse. And before I jump into this, I am not going to say anything negative about that person other than to say, I'm not exactly sure if they understood the assignment, if that makes any sense. And I'm saying that because I watch that person quite often and they are so spot on with a lot of stuff. But I am not too, because I was listening and my head kept turning and my neck kept going to the other side. I was like, I don't know if he quite understand. Oh, there's another top to pop. I do not know if he quite understood the assignment, how to find a kingdom spouse. And so I just wanted to chime in because I know that there's a lot, and he has a lot of people who follow him. So one of the things I think that we all have to understand, there's twofold things here, especially for my YouTube folks. The first thing is when you have any following, you can have one person following you and the responsibility is great on you because you're going to be held accountable for what you teach that person, right? If you're in a teaching role, you're going to be held responsible for that. The second thing is not everybody is right all the time. And the third thing is sometimes we miss it. We just get it wrong. We just get it wrong. And I think we have to give grace in that area for those of us who do get it wrong. I'm big enough, grown enough, and brave enough to say, y'all, I don't get it right. I posted something on my Instagram yesterday that said, note to self, you're not always right. I had an encounter yesterday with someone, and I felt myself getting a little bit testy, a little heated. I did not lose my cool, but I was not trying to take no for an answer. I mean, the answer was not no, but the way they were talking to me was a little bit crazy. Like I didn't know what I was talking about. And because I do know what I'm talking about, I kind of felt away, like they were trying to handle me. Don't do that. Because I know what I'm talking about. The second thing in that conversation was I felt like if there was somebody else in my same situation who didn't know as much as I knew about that one subject, they would have ramrod those people, run right over the top of their heads. And I'm just not going to have that. Not for me and the people I got to work with over here. So anyway, I wanted to just kind of share a little bit about finding your kingdom spouse. First of all, oven's done. Oven's done, y'all. Very good. Where's your sister? Okay. We're trying to film 2 different videos at the same time, and I'm doing a live. Okay. So I wanted to be very clear about those couple of things. Sometimes we miss it. We don't get it right. And that's when you don't have a clear understanding. And not everybody has an exhaustive understanding. I may understand a little bit, and you may understand a little bit more than I. And so, of course, we're hoping that at some point we all come to the same conclusion about what we think, what we believe, what we feel. And so, hey, everybody, good to see you guys. I'm so glad you're here. So I wanted to share about finding your kingdom spouse. Now, for those of you who are, if you're in the chat and you are desirous of marriage and you want to find your kingdom spouse, will you just put that in the chat? Because I want to make sure that I'm talking to the right people. This may not be for everybody tonight. And I knew when I said I got a juicy subject to talk about, people were going to come over here to try to figure out what Shakima was talking about. But this is important. Because the first thing is this. I was going to post yesterday a video that said you do not have to say yes to everything. And the first thing you don't have to say yes to is poor treatment. If there's somebody who says they're interested in you, but they show no interest by spending time doing quality things with you, you don't have to say yes to poor treatment. You can say, excuse me, I think you're overly busy. I think you have way too much going on. This may not be the right connection for you. This is not working for me. And that is your no. You don't have to agree to people treating you any type of way. So we're not saying yes to any more of that. Hey, y'all. Hey, you guys. The other thing is when people are trying to manhandle your money. No, you don't have to agree to somebody spending your money casually, haphazardly. My kids will be like, oh, mom, I need so-and-so. Where is that in the budget? Did we plan for that? Did you give me fair warning? Because I don't have to say yes to everything, and I'm not going to. The same is true when you're looking for your person. Now, some of you just want a person, and some of us desire a kingdom spouse. So whatever it is you want, you can have, but just understand you're going to get what comes with that particular individual. Does that make any sense? Okay, very good. So if you have your Bible, I did ask you to bring those. If you'll jump over, hey, Kim, if you'll jump over to Genesis, just in chapter 1, we're going to go in Genesis chapter 1, and then we're going to pop over to a couple other things. When he talked about kingdom spouse, so it was a gentleman that I was listening to. When he talked about kingdom spouse, that deals with the kingdom of God, right? Your kingdom spouse. What is your kingdom assignment? God has given us things to do. And so you are looking for, I am desirous to be paired with that person who has a specific assignment from God that he needs me to help him do. Now, if you go to Genesis 1 and you go to chapter verse 26, it says, then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, all the earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth. So if we look right there, hey, ma'am, if we look right there, they will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, all the earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth. That's already assignment number 1. There is something that God has already assigned this person that he's making in his image to do, which is care for the thing that he just created when he spoke and he said, let there be light, when there was void and darkness all over the earth, right? When God gave it light and he separated the night from the day and he made the land and then he made the water and he said, okay, now I got to have somebody to come and manage all this stuff. And so he gave this person a job even before the person was created. He says just in 26, let us make the man. And when we make him, this is what he's going to do. 27 says, so he created man in his image. He created him in the image of God. He created them male and female. So this is where we understand that the male came first. The woman was inside of the male. And when God was ready, he then went inside of the man and pulled out the woman. And then he presented the woman to Adam. And Adam had to decide, yes, I want her. He could have very well said, no, I don't want her. And then we don't know where we would have been if he had said that. All right. So he created them male and female. In 28, it says, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth. And also he says, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth and every tree whose fruit contains seeds. This food will be yours. So all you farmers and homesteaders and farmsteaders and suburban people who are farmsteading and all the things, we are doing exactly what God has called us to do. Hey, y'all. All right. So then he says, if you go back to 30, he says, for all wildlife, for all the wildlife of the earth, for the birds of the sky and every creature that crawls on the earth, everything have the breath of life in it. I have given every green plant for food, and it was so. God saw that when he made man, it was very good. Evening came, and that was the sixth day. So he made man. He said it was very good. That was different than when he made the other stuff or created the other stuff or spoke it into existence. Those things were good. We were created very good. We were created one with each other, and then he gave us something to do. So when you talk about your kingdom spouse, now go to chapter 2 and go to verse 18. So he gave the man the woman, and he gave them the job, but he had not yet given him the woman for real, right? He was getting ready to do all the things. When he gets to 18 of chapter 2, he says, then the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone, because remember, he made every animal, and they had a mate. He said, it is not good. Then the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper as his complement. So a couple things. And I heard this and I thought this was good. There is no competition between you and your kingdom partner. There is no competition. I'm a very, very, very strong personality. That does not mean I always want my way. It doesn't mean that I always have to be right. It doesn't mean that I always have to be in charge. What it means for me is I'm going to get it done. That's my personality. Y'all see me around here. Y'all's like, Shakima, do you ever rest? I don't have rest in my spirit. So the person who God assigns me to, yes, I know I get to pick. So don't come for me in the comments. You get to pick your person. God's not just going, okay, listen, I get it. But the person that I am going to be assigned to, that kingdom partner that I'm praying and asking God for, is not going to be able to sit down. He's going to have to be constantly moving, because that is what I do. That's my speed. Absolutely. Right? That's what I do. So he says, then God said, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper as his complement. We are to complement one another. It's like when you pick an outfit and then you decide on your accessories. The accessories make the outfit look better, right? When a man picks you, you should make the man look better. When you pick a man, well, I don't know, y'all should be doing better together, right? Okay. But there is no competition. I'm not going to try to out preach him. I'm not going to try to out teach him. I'm not going to try to outword him. I'm not going to try to out pray him. That's not my specific assignment. My assignment is to come alongside him and to help him do the things that God gave him to do back in 1:26, 7, and 8, and on through 30. He says, so the Lord God formed out of the ground every wild animal and every bird of the sky, and brought each to the man to see what he would call it. And whatever he called the living creature, it was his name. The man gave names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and the man had no helper was found as his complement. Going back, that is Genesis 2, chapter 2, verse 21. He did all this. He named everybody. He's seeing, oh, it's a man, it's a male and a female elephant. It's a male and a female giraffe. Everybody got somebody. They get ready to go and do the things and procreate and make some stuff happen. But no matter how much of that was going to happen, God said, I've given you rule and dominion over all of that. Y'all already know when a male and a female animal get together, they just start doing the humpback dance. And the next thing you know, it be multiple people that come out of them, that dancing that be happening, right? So God said to the man, he said, listen, all of this that I've created, I'm giving you dominion over. But when you get over to chapter 2, he says, but he don't have nobody. Now here's the thing, to be very sure, man was very sufficient with himself, by himself. He was as sufficient as he needed to be. Remember, God created Adam so that he could walk with him in the cool of the day. He didn't create Adam for any other reason. It was that so Adam could be with him. But he gave him a job because he wanted Adam to have something else. Not that it replaced God, because nothing can replace the Lord, but he needed him to know this is what your work is. And so he says, in 21, so the Lord caused a deep sleep to come over the man, and he slept. God took one of his ribs and closed the flesh at that place. Then the Lord God made the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to man. The man said, this one at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from the man. Now, here's another verse. For this is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds to his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked and yet felt no shame. That was all the way down through verse 25 of chapter 2, right? So when you talk about a kingdom spouse, a kingdom relationship, a kingdom partner, remember, it already told us clearly, it's a complement. It is somebody who adds value. It's added value. When you connect with someone, if there is not what we consider added value, then what is the point of the connection? If there is nothing that you're going to help them do, or anything that they're going to help you do, or if there is no growth in your togetherness, what is the point of actually being together? So when you're looking, I'm trying to be looked at or whatever, I am doing all of the things. This is why, and it took me a long time to figure out this. This is why people say you have to be content in your singleness. You have to be working in your singleness. You have to be doing what you're doing, because the man who is going to look upon me with favor is going to see my personality, work. He's going to see my personality, my kids, my family, my kids, my family. He's going to see my personality. She don't spend all the money. She don't do all this stuff. He's going to see my personality and say, you know what? I was thinking that with everything I got going on over here, she probably could fit what I got going on. And that person will then pursue me. And why will he pursue me then? Because there is something that he needs that I have. And once he pursues me and he lays claim to this, will you marry me? Then we're going to come together and begin to do what God called us to do for wherever he is, wherever we are, or wherever God chooses to send us. It is not about the physicalities. Yes, I want to be attracted to the man, but that man also has to be doing I'm only going to be attracted to someone that is doing the physical work of God, because that's what I'm doing. And it's complementary to what I'm doing. I am ordained a pastor, licensed a minister. I function as an evangelist, and I have to think quite often about who the person is that I should be in connection with, covenant connection, not just connection, covenant connection, which is lifelong. Covenant connection is blood covering, blood connection, and it's lifelong. So that person that I've heard before, you don't want to marry a preacher. You don't want to, because y'all going to be competing with each other. Well, here's what I know about me. I will preach, can preach, am wired to preach, but I don't have to preach. If he preaches and he's doing all that needs to be done, then perhaps my role is not preaching. Perhaps my role is something else in a helpful manner for him. Here's what I think as well. I was an executive assistant for 12 years to a very powerful gentleman in the area that we worked in. And he was very, he liked things the way he liked them. It just had to be just so. My personality could connect to that because I'm a right brainer. I'm a personality, a driver. I can get it done. And we worked well together. And the only times I saw that gentleman relax is when I was working for him, because he knew that I would take care of it exactly the way he wanted it taken care of. I was going to make him look better. So if the Lord decides that a pastor is my husband, I could be the best assistant he's ever had, right? I'll book your speaking engagements. I'll book your flights. Those are things I know how to do. Well, Shakima, I thought you were a pastor. I am. But I already posted earlier, if I never preach in the pulpit again, may my life be the sermon. Because I have divorced myself from the pulpit. Remember, the Lord told me years ago, Shakima, if you don't divorce yourself from the pulpit, from the idea that you can only minister in the church, you're never going to do ministry the way I called you to do it. Perhaps my husband is called to street ministry. Listen, have tennis shoes, we'll walk. You out there, I'm out there. You doing it, I'm doing it. Right? So you got to be thinking about that. Those are the important things when we're talking about a kingdom spouse. What is it that God has assigned you to do that you're doing right now, so that when that person puts eyes on you, They are seeing, oh, you know what? She would be so complimentary. Now, I want to be arm candy and eye candy and all that, but that's not all I am. Honey, is I take these earrings off and I will roll up my sleeves and go out there in the garden, in the yard, and do all the things just like anybody else. But there are some women who won't do that. They're not called to the yard. I'll go get my nails done and then go out there and dig in the dirt. Which can mean you just got your nails done and the dirt still need to be digged in. There are some people who won't. So there are some men who will look at some women and go, that just won't work for me, because he's looking at what God gave him. I'm only talking about kingdom people. I'm not talking about anybody that's not kingdom. Kingdom people, because that was the topic. Kingdom people are going to be doing kingdom work. That's how it is. That's how it goes. It's nothing else that you're going to try to do around that. All right, now, I wanted to clarify that. Go to Amos. If you have your Bible, go to Amos. This Bible has my words at the bottom. If you go to Amos, let me find Amos. Amos is eluding me at the moment, but I'm going to find him. And the devil is a lie. Don't want me to find it. Oh, there we go. Very good. Okay. Amos chapter 3, verse 3 says, can two walk together without agreeing to meet? There has to be, when you come together with your kingdom partner. This is what I tell couples quite often. I have done some couples counseling for people who are considering marriage. I've done singles counseling with just women who are having issues within their marriage. I do not counsel men. That is not my role to counsel men. Could I counsel a man? Sure. But I never want to cross a line. So I don't do that. That's why the Lord is bringing my kingdom spouse so that we can couple counsel together. I can couple counsel as long as there is a woman there. But to counsel a man, I am not a man. I don't know anything about being a man. I can read the research. I could look at, Google. I could do all of that. But I don't have maleness, and I am not able to speak properly to the male. Can the Holy Spirit tell me what to say to anybody? Absolutely, sure. But I am a firm believer that God is going to connect me with a kingdom person that will pick up that part or that role that I cannot fill, and I will do the same for him. Amos 3:3, can two walk together without agreeing to meet? If you never agree to meet each other, how are you ever going to walk in the same direction? If we never agree on what it is that God said for us to do, how are we ever going to do it? Here's what I'm telling you. If you come over here, this is Shakima, may not be you because y'all are better than me. If you come over here, if a man comes to me and says, God has called me to Africa as a missionary, here is my response. God has not called me to Africa. He could be cute. He could be rich. He could be all the things. I could go to Africa, but more than likely, I'm going to end up mad, bitter, angry, hating it, want to come home, and it's going to be a whole problem. When you get together with your kingdom spouse, there's not going to be this. That doesn't mean there won't be moments of disagreement as we're trying to figure out how to work out what we're doing. But there's never going to be this butting of the heads, because we both know that God put us together for a specific task. If you go back to Genesis, he says, you will rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, and all the earth and the creatures that crawl upon it. I can't go to my husband and say, I don't want to be over the livestock. I could say, well, babe, I really don't think we should harness the ox to the donkey. I don't think that's how that should go, right? I'm there to help be the reason when he's being unreasonable, or I'm there to give him another thought when he hasn't thought of it. And then when I say, well, how about we hook up the she oxen to the he oxen and see if they can walk together? And he'd be like, oh, that was a good, I didn't even think about that. How about that? Babe, I really don't think we should give out Thanksgiving turkeys to the families this year. Perhaps we should have a large Thanksgiving community, everybody come here and eat type of program. We've given out turkeys every year. Why don't we do something here that is family, that's community? Those types of things, right? He told us that So we may disagree on how to rule the fish of the sea, but he's never going to say we need to rule the fish and I'm going to say we don't rule the fish. There has to be agreement. It all goes back to agreement. And it all goes back to when he looked at the woman, he said, oh, finally, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. A man knows his partner. He just does. He knows her through her conversation. He knows her through her friends that she hangs around. He knows her through her work. He knows her through her social media in these days, because nothing is being hidden on social media. If my husband were to look on my social media to see if I have booty pictures, I don't have none. If I got some, y'all tell me so I can go take it down. But I don't think I got none of them, because he's not going to want all of that business out there. And I have to know that ahead of time, right? Okay. Now that I've gotten that straightened out, remember the kingdom work is why you're looking for a kingdom spouse. It's the kingdom work. What are you doing, Shakima? Well, the Lord told me to teach people finances, momming, home life. Now I'm farmsteading, all those types of things. So my husband, and baby, if you out there, hey, right, is looking for what I have to offer to help bolster what he's doing in his specific area. One of the things about me that is very true, I heard someone say this the other night. He said, sometimes God will call you to an area. God may call you to a place. And I've heard different people say, I'm not moving. I can't move. My kids are in school and I just can't move. I don't have those rules. I don't have any rules about moving. Well, Shakima, you own a house. What you going to do? Sell your house tomorrow? If the Lord showed me my kingdom person and we knew it was the thing, this house would be on the market tomorrow, because I am not stuck to the house. I want to be joined to the kingdom assignment. Does that make sense? We put a lot of stipulations and rules and things. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not. I never thought I would own a home because I didn't want to put down roots in hopes that the person who came to find me would go, oh, she's just in an apartment. She can leave now. But God had a better idea. Let me tell you how God is so good and gracious, and he thinks of all the things. The current rate of the market now is so good that if I were to sell my house tomorrow, right? It's nighttime. If I were to sell my house tomorrow, I would pull out almost half. My house is doubled in what it's doubled in its value is what I'm trying to say. So after I paid off my loan, right? Paid off my loan for buying the house, I would have what I paid for the house plus some in profit. Well, Shakima, what does that have to do with anything? Well, if I'm going to the place, if God is going to require me to leave where I am, pull up my roots and go and set down roots with my husband, should I not have something to bring with me? So now that God gave me the good enough sense to buy the house, I've been in the house for long enough time. The market is so hot right now that there's not a lot of inventory out here. So it's a seller's market. I wouldn't even have to do any upgrades, improvements, change anything, do nothing, because people just want the house. They do all the stuff themselves. And I will have taken out the exact same amount plus some of what I borrowed after I paid off the mortgage. And I'll be able to take that into the relationship that I'm going to and ask God for. That's how good God is in his forethought. Now, the man is not going to say, oh, let me get her because she got equity in her house. I'm not going. Remember, we don't have to say yes to that. What is your kingdom assignment? Tell me what God has told you to do so I can tell you if I'm supposed to help you do that. One of the things we have to do as individuals, you got to have conversations with people and you have to understand what they are doing, because if they are just chillaxing, they're not doing it. That's not my personality. I'm not even here for that. I work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, multiple jobs. I'm trying to get the bag so that we can, in our retirement years, chillax. We ain't chillaxing today. Okay. Now, I think I said all the things. My mindset about dating was so skewed, right? Because when you are used to, I met my ex-husband when I was 15. We started dating when I was 16, and we were together until I was 33 years old. So almost half my life I was with that person. And then I found myself without any person. This is not about him. This is about my mind. So then I was not with anybody. So I just kept thinking anybody would do. Oh, anybody, God, just give me somebody. God, I just need somebody. God, I ain't slept in the bed by myself in 18 years. God, give me somebody. And it was like, As I've grown and as I've understood what God has called me to do, and as I've understood, be content in your single season, work in your single season, build your money in your single season, raise your kids in your single season. I mean, I'm almost at the end of this thing with kids. I'm at an empty nest stage. Not that I will be done with my children, but I mean, it's a lot. And so here I am thinking something is wrong with my thinking, because I'm just, even though I know what God has called me to do, I'm accepting anybody over here. And it was like, oh, no, we can't do that anymore. So I was listening to a girl that I follow, and she mentioned this book. This book is by Derek and Ruth Prince. It's called God is a Matchmaker. Now, if you are serious, and I mean serious about finding your kingdom spouse, and if there are any men on here as well, I encourage everybody to read this book. This book is written by Derek and Ruth Prince. Ruth was his second wife. His first wife was Lydia. And he lived in, this is how people don't understand the power of God. So again, we're talking about kingdom spouses. This is not for people that's just out here in the world. This is for kingdom people. Derek lived in, I think, England. And his first wife, Lydia, lived in Israel. He was in England. She was in Israel. She was significantly older than him, 10, 12, 15, some odd years like that, significantly older than him. And she had 9 children when he met her. 9 children. Now, how does a man, and some men out here, they don't even want to take care of one child. Well, she was what they would consider a spinster. And she started adopting children who were being mistreated, had bad situations, and she created a girls' home for these children. And they became her responsibility. So they were not her own children that she had out of her body. These were children that she adopted. And this man, when he found her, he adopted those children as well. You're talking about a man who doesn't know anything about children. He's way younger than his wife. Why would he even consider this woman? Because he dreamed her. He dreamed about being in Israel. And then he dreamed about this woman, and he went to God and he said, God, something is not making sense here. I'm not exactly sure what you're telling me to do, but what? I'm open. I'm here. Tell me the things. He went there. He met her through a series of circumstances, and they ended up getting married, and they were married for a very significant amount of time. I think he met her in his 30s, his early 30s, and I think they were married until she passed. I think he was in his 60s, or right around 60. He then had another dream about another woman who lived in the Middle East. He was in the United States by then. He had another dream about another woman who lived in the Middle East. And this woman, he saw in the dream that she was bent over. And then he saw her sitting with her back against a wall in this really pretty green dress. And you say to yourself, how does any of this work? If you are tapped into the spirit, God can do anything. He can show you who your spouse is in the matter of moments if you are tapped in and you want to know. I want to know. That's what I'm saying. I ain't stuck to the house. Give me the assignment. The house can go tomorrow. The assignment is forever. Okay. So he goes to Israel for a ministry trip or of some kind. And Unbeknownst to him, he was going to this place, and he was going to take one of his books to the secretary of this place that he had kind of a relationship with, like this other ministry, whatever the case was. But she was not there. She had went out on disability because her back had went out on her. Well, he kept asking the gentleman, well, do you think she would mind if I come by and visit? And he was like, no, I think it would be fine. She'll be okay. He goes, he rides in a taxi. He doesn't know where he's going. They can't even find the place. He's like, okay, well, we'll go back to the hotel. It's fine. Maybe it just wasn't for me to meet her. As they turn around in the car, the guy looks to his left and he says, there it is. He goes into the house. The lady's laying down in the bed. This man is preaching, teaching, doing all the things, writing the books. He's for the Lord. He's doing all this stuff. She's laying in the bed. And he looks at the lady and he knows immediately that's his wife. He's never met her before at all. Not one time. You've got to have a word of the Lord that this is your kingdom spouse. What are you saying, Shakima? I'm saying for me, it changed my thinking. I'm not exactly caring about the size of your biceps. Even the size of your bank account is not important, because what God has for me is for me. And what I will never be again is broke, because God is my provider. He is my source. I'm not my source. God is my source. And if he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, I'm never going to be broke. And if we're together, we're never going to be broke. So it's not about the size of your biceps. It's not about the size of your bank account. It's not about how many children you have. Although I'm really hoping there ain't a whole lot. My dad had 5 children when he met his wife, and she accepted him and all of us. Right? So who's to say what God's going to ask me to do? I don't know. I got 4 of them myself. But I'm telling you that I had to ask God. I said, God, could you have my husband dream me so I just don't have to waste time with people anymore? I don't want to waste any more time. There is no more time to be wasted. What is important is the assignment of God. And so what I do is I keep doing what God has asked me to do to the best of my ability and with as much fidelity as I am able. Now, going back to what I said before, I'm not perfect. I don't always get it right, and I'm not always right. Sometimes I get it confused. I mess it up. He gave me clear direction and I forgot to follow it, or I didn't follow it to the exact letter of the law, whatever the case is. And I have to then go to God and repent, but then I get right back on it, right? So my kingdom spouse would know, she's not perfect, but she's perfectly created to help me do what I need to do. He knew it was his wife, but there was a problem. She was divorced. And he had this group of friends. He had like 2 or 3 or 4 guys that when he was back in his younger years, they were just so good friends. And they had decided, listen, we're not making any big decisions without chatting with one another. Hey, you're going to make a big decision. We're going to come together and we're going to talk about it. He knew this woman was his wife. He went to his friends and said, I believe that the Lord has told me to marry Ruth. And his friend said to him, we do not think that that is a good idea. And he went to Ruth and he said, I cannot marry you. Now, wait a doggone minute. The Lord done showed you I was the one, and the Lord showed me you was the one, and now you telling me that you can't marry me. What is the problem? Because your little friend said so? It was all a part of the kingdom plan. I think it was another year before he got a firm confirmation, and he began to pray for his friends. God, either show them clearly or show me clearly that she is not the one. He wasn't in a hurry to get there. He knew she was his wife. He knew he was a little bit older. He wasn't in a hurry. Finally, about a year later, his friends decided through prayer, seeking the Lord, all of that, you know what? We think that this is the fit, because he never changed his mind. He didn't move forward, but he didn't change his mind because God had given him the plan. When God gives you the plan, you do not change your mind. It may not be for today. It may be 10 years down the road. It may not be where everybody is in agreement. But if God gave you the plan, then you stick with the plan. It's all going to work out. And for me, when I read this book, I'm telling y'all that weight that had just been on me. Is there anybody for me? Is there ever going to be anybody for me? Nobody wants me. I got kids. I got this. I got that. This man married a woman with 9 children. I don't have 9. I wanted 9, but I don't have 9. And none of them live at home except Alana. And she already gave me her move out date. And Jackson is shortly thereafter. He's not staying home. I already know he's moving out. So, okay. When is it ever going to happen for me, God? Perhaps I needed to get to this point in life where I was financially secure, where I was mentally secure, where I was spiritually secure. I don't have mama trauma. I saw somebody doing a video today about mama trauma. Your mama, listen to Shakima. Let me tell you something. Your mama is not the cause of every problem in your life. Listen, up till about 18, she probably did some stuff that might not have been pleasing to you, might have been wrong. You might have done it different with your kids. And when you get your kids, I want you to do it different. Remember how she did it and you do it different. But past you moving out, nothing else that you have done is her fault. Well, Shakima, you don't know, when I was 2 years old and when I was 3 years old, I still have scars. Please ask the Lord to help you get over that. Because this blame game stuff, we over that. We have repented. We've asked for forgive. We've done all the things. Now you must move forward in your grownness and own up to what you didn't do. And you're welcome. Okay. So for me, this right here just really, it helped me get to the point, because again, all those questions that Ruth, and in the last chapter she does is chapter 12. His new wife Ruth comes in, and now he's been passed away for a good little while now, but she comes in and she talks about how she prepared, because here you are, you have this man who asks you to marry him, you say yes, his friends say no, and then he tells you no. What do? She said she wasn't sure at the moment, but she went back, she prayed about it, and she just decided to live her life. She says, God, I know that's my husband, and he knows I'm his wife, and you just going to have to work it out, because kingdom spouses, kingdom connections, covenant connections, kingdom partners, God is in it. He's in it somewhere, probably right in the middle of it. And our humanness may not want to see it. Now, I think my husband is 6 foot something. If he roll up in here 5'5", I'm gonna have an issue, but I guess God know what he's doing, because I like to wear heels. Now, God, can you just make him 6 foot something so I can at least wear my heels and still, right? But again, those things are all superficial. That's not kingdom. The kingdom may cause me to give my jacket away and my shoes. The kingdom may cause me to be in here, not just canning for my family, but canning for the families that he's invited over, because he knew of somebody in the church who didn't have a meal, has never sat down to a Sunday dinner. He's like, babe, we got people coming. He calling me. We got people coming home, put on some extra. And I've already made provision and preparation for the people who are coming. That's the type of relationship that's kingdom. The Lord spoke to me very clearly, and I'm done, y'all. I had to come on here and just chat about that, because everybody, we don't always understand the kingdom if you ain't in the kingdom. God spoke to me very clearly. And I remember this just like I remember it yesterday. And it's been almost 6-7 years ago. Let me see. I've been divorced now, separated and divorced, 14 years. The first 6 years, I was bound and was not allowed to even think about dating. So 8 years ago, the Lord said to me, and I remember like it was yesterday, I'll never forget this word, because God spoke to me. If you've never heard the Lord speak a word, when you hear the Lord speak a word to you, you will never forget it. God said to me, Shakima, you will be working in your ministry. My ministry is Titus 2 Women, Daughters of Grace. First Love Ministries with Shakima Wilson. That's what God gave me to do. He didn't give me anything else. I thought it was going to be in the church. I am a virtual person. I do virtual meetings with all of my ladies virtually. I planned it out. God was like, that's your plan. That ain't my plan. You want to do mine or yours? I said, well, I'll go with you. He said, you'll be working in your ministry. He said, your husband will be working in his ministry. When the two meet, it will be M squared. multiplied ministry. My chat went away some type of way. Oh, there it is. He said, when the two meet, it will be multiplied ministry, M squared. He said, you and your husband will have influence in the areas of marriage and money, M squared, multiplied ministry. I kept trying to ask God, what is the M squared? He said, your husband and you will have influence in the areas of marriage and money. He said, when you teach on marriage and money, it will affect the family. That will then in turn affect the legacy. Because it's not just about what happens in this house. It's about what happens in my children's homes when they move out, and what happens in their children's homes when they move out, to the generations and the generations and the generations that are coming. M squared, multiplied ministry. That's two M's, marriage and money. Family, legacy. And anybody that's not doing that is not my person. Well, Shakima, what if that means is that you don't meet nobody for the next 10 years? It's not my person. He was 60 something when he met his second wife. I don't believe God has it for me 10 years down the line. I believe it is not unto coming. But if it is, and they over here flashing their dollar bills and biceps and triceps and cars and all that, you are not the person. What you doing? What's important to you? People are important to me. God's people. And the assignment that he's placed on my life, the lives of my children, and everybody else that is connected to me. So what I have had to do is to be about the Father's business. Have I asked him to allow my husband to dream me? Yes, I have. Because at current, I'm not traveling as much as I would like, although God has opened up that door for me to be able to travel a little bit more. I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip, and then I'm getting ready to go on another trip. And I think there's a third trip in the works before the end of the year. Why are you going so many places, Shakima? Because in order for me to be seen, he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. In order for me to be seen by anybody, I have to leave my house. And for a very long time, I was very comfortable sitting in my house. Now, I'm not going outside to meet a man, but I do understand that the men are outside. Does that make sense? Right? I'm not going out there to meet somebody, but there's a life happening out there, and I want to live. He said, I would, beloved, that you would be in health and prosper, even as your soul prospers. He says, I've given you life and life to the full. With long life have I satisfied you. I want to be out here living. I've asked God to allow me to live, and I can't just do that in my house. My children are going to leave me. I was texting with a friend of mine, Tori, earlier, and we were just chit-chatting and laughing about some stuff. And I told her that in the last video that I posted, I was getting ready. It was a Sunday morning, but my children were not at home. They were with their dad. And even now, 14 years later, I still get a little bit depressed when my kids leave. And that's only because my whole life has been about my children. So what God is doing in his graciousness, and we never think about how gracious God is. But let me tell you something. In God's graciousness, he has allowed me, even while my children are still at home, to start going outside, so that when they finally do leave home, when everybody leaves and I know they're not coming back, I will have found other outlets, and I won't be stuck in my house feeling depressed and lonely because my children have left me. He is allowing me to have other interests. Not that I'm not interested in my children. I'm very interested, very active, all the things. I am here for them, will go for them, all the things. But God is allowing me to have other interests, to make other friends, to be able to travel throughout the United States, because my children live in different places of the world. My daughter's in California. My son is in Texas. There is no telling where Jackson will end up. And Alana, while she may not go very far, once she finds her husband, they're going to have children immediately. Alana wants to be a mom. She just because she had a good mom. She feels like she just wants to be a mom. She's going to be busy momming and doing things. So I'm not going to be able to just call them up and be like, hey, what y'all doing? Y'all want to get together? They just left the house. No, they don't want to get together with you. So what should I do? I should go outside. I should be with my friends that I love and that love me, and I should be able to do things. And what happens when you're doing things is now you're able to meet other people that you would not have normally met if you were sitting in your house. It is how God works it out for me. 20 years ago, I couldn't, well, I was married then. 14 years ago, I couldn't figure that part out. 20 years ago, I didn't know. And my husband was my whole world. And my whole world crashed when he left. So I'm thankful that as God allows me to grow and to mature and to get my finances right so that I am able to travel. A friend of mine earlier messaged me where she's flying in from her state. I'm flying in from my state to the same event. And we're going to be staying together. And we were getting together the rental car information and stuff. And I was like, I would never have done this last year. I would have never done this. I would have done it this year, but never last year or the year before that. I've never, because my kids need me. I can't go nowhere. They're always going to be here. No. Kingdom Bay is out there somewhere. He's not here. He out there. And so I'm going to get out, and I encourage you to do the same things. Love your kids. I love my children to life. Would not take anything for them. But I promise you that you need to live, because when they leave, what you going to do then? The last thing I want to share is there is another book that he wrote. I have just started this one. I haven't really gotten very far in this book because I'm back to school and stuff. But this is called Marriage Covenant. For those of us who desire marriage, and it is also by Derek Prince, for those of us who desire marriage, while we're waiting for God to make the match, we need to be understanding what marriage is. Marriage is not for the faint of heart. It's not for, I don't know what you think it is for. Marriage is, I think it's a complimentary portion of my life. I'm looking forward to it. I've always loved a marriage. I love the institution of it. I'm glad if you're married, it is so we can become better. But I want to make sure that I understand it based on what the word says, for me to be that kingdom wife, for me to be that covenant partner, for even when things aren't going exactly the way I thought they should go, for me not to go run into somebody and telling all of our business, but for me to go run into God and telling him what I did wrong, what I didn't support him in this, or God, I'm not exactly sure where he is right now, but would you show me so that I'm able to comfort him, right? God, I know I'm wrong. Or for me to go to him and say, babe, you know, I was wrong. So these two books, this book right here, honestly, radically changed my life. And then I go back to the 40 Days of Love, the Love Dare Challenge. Every single day, you should be daring your husband or your wife to love. You should be daring them to love. You should be daring the hell out of them if hell is in them. If that is what's in them, if they are just full of the devil, you should be loving them to the way that God loved us. Why, Shakima? Because first of all, we covenanted. We said we would till death do us part. And then they may just not know any better. The Bible says that a saved wife can draw her spouse. I'm living proof of that. My ex-husband was not saved when we got married. He did get saved. He decided to make a different decision towards the end of our marriage, and that was his decision to make. I'm never leaving God. So if the same person who comes, if you ain't all in for Jesus, you are not the one. Don't matter how cute you are. You could be cute, but if you're not all in for the Lord, you're not the one. If you're not all in for kingdom work, you're not the one. If you're not all in for me doing ministry, if you're trying to pull me out of ministry so I can be, if you're making me choose between you and ministry, you're not the one. And that could be hard for a lot of us to hear because some of us have been single a very long time. Y'all, I've been single 14 years. 14 years. And in that 14 years, I've only dated one person. And that was just in the last 3 years. One. Why is that? Because my husband is too important to me to just be out here willy-nilly with anybody. And I just can't do it. So there it is. There it is, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna go eat dinner because I think it's done. I heard the pops, I heard the thing beep, and now it's time to eat. I love all y'all. I appreciate you. Please understand that I'm not perfect, and I may not have gotten it all correct, but that's my understanding of it. And what he was saying, that God that I was listening to, it didn't have anything to do with the kingdom. I was like, oh, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. I mean, I was sure, but it was a worldly. It was not this. So anywho, if you're looking for those resources, you can find those on Amazon. It's where I found them. I found these two resources on Amazon. I would encourage you to read it. And if there's anybody that's interested in doing God as a Matchmaker as a Bible study, I mean, as a book study, I think I'm going to put, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to put that maybe a poll or something out to see if anybody's interested in that. Maybe something that we do together as a group. We encourage each other. Alrighty, y'all. Y'all stay blessed. Do all the things. Pray about all the things. Live your best life. Do stuff you've never done before. Help people you've never helped before. Give if you have never given before. Get seeds in the ground. Seeds in the ground produce the harvest. If you never put any seed in the ground, you're never going to produce a harvest. Why are you talking about giving, Shakima? Because it is a principle. Given it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall he cause men to give unto your bosom. Do you give, Shakima? Every chance I get. Every chance I get. I love all y'all, and I'll see you next time.